Bazemore, and I first and foremost want to just take an opportunity to welcome and greet each and every one of you for taking just a few minutes out of your Saturday morning to jump on to get some absolutely incredible life-changing information. And with that, I want to pivot and get out of the way and bring to the forefront a gentleman that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I've had the fortune to call this gentleman a mentor over the last decade plus. And this gentleman is a wealth of knowledge, just a great high energy being. But this gentleman's commitment to helping others and just being a health advocate over the last decade plus has truly impacted thousands of lives. So with that, I want to bring to the forefront good friend, mentor, and advocate, Mr. Andre Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn, are you there, sir?
I'm here. Can you hear me clearly?
I hear you loud and clear, sir. The Zoom is yours.
Awesome, man. I'm fired up. I'm just so fired up that all of you wouldn't call it robbery to be right here and right now in a world of turmoil, in a world of folks just worrying about how they're going to pay their bills. And they're so concerned with paying their light bill instead of paying their life bill. And so I give you a round of applause because there's no shortage of funerals. The best business right now, they tell me, is the funeral home because so many people are dead and gone and dying every single day from things that I believe that could be prevented. They said this is the first time in history that we'll be burying our kids. Why? Because there's a lack of nutrition. So last week, man, we talked about a bit about high blood pressure, talked a little bit about obesity and diabetes. We're going to jump right into it. Won't be before you here long because we want to gain your time trust. We want you to know that when we have these meetings, we're not going to be here and tying up your Saturdays, but I believe that the time that you're going to spend is going to be impactful. So the gentleman that we're going to be going back and forth a little bit, I first met him over a decade ago. Matter of fact, I was just in a hotel where we had one of our big meetings when it came to our health initiative. And then at that point, it really just hit me like, wow, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And so put your seatbelt on, please get your pen and pad. Feel free to invite people privately. You are in the in club because we're doing things privately until we launch on June 3rd. So I want to bring to the stage my good friend, my health advocate, the person that I call him Teletide. It ain't Teledoc, it's Teletide. If you come onto the stage, Mr. Todd Smith, how you doing, my friend?
Fantastic, Mr. Andre Vaughn. Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm fired up, man. We're going to get into it. Todd, a lot of our family members are struggling. A lot of things that we saw 80, 90, and 100-year-olds have now right here, 40, 50, and 60-year-olds now have. It's become acceptable. The medical system, I believe, has failed us. When you break your arm, great, go there, that's great. But when it comes to nutrition and the power of it, it's been probably worse in a lot of countries that don't have as much money as us, but they are more healthy than us because they get it from the soils. But so by default, they're getting that proper nutrition. Now, inflammation is big, Todd. You say this all the time. It's a warning. If you could just share the importance of paying attention to inflammation and anything you want to talk about on that topic, and then we'll get to men's health right afterwards.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, inflammation is kind of the silent killer. It's the thing that the doctors keep telling us to worry about, but they don't really tell us what's causing it or what to do about it. Because it's at the root of pretty much everything that we suffer from. You could name a disease, it doesn't matter what it is, and most likely inflammation is involved. Well, why is that? Because inflammation is the body's response to stress. It's the body's response to not having the nutrients it needs. It's the body's response to an infection. It's the body's response to not having the tools to rebuild and repair. So, if you want to come up with a real simple comparison to inflammation, it's when we lose our temper. It's when we get angry, right? Stress happens and we get inflamed, right? You've heard somebody say that about a person. Well, that's what your body is doing when it's short on nutrition or when it's in an environment that it can't repair and maintain itself, then the body becomes inflamed. And at the root of every disease is this occurrence of inflammation. It's a natural response that the body does when it's missing something, when it's being overrun, when it can't control things. And so inflammation becomes the core, the crux of what then gums up the works. We've all been caught in a traffic jam. None of us like it. And that's how you get some inflamed people, is to get them stuck in a traffic jam. But a traffic jam, congestion on the roadways is an example of inflammation. It's where there's congestion, things can't get moving. And if ever there was a time for a breakdown in the body, it's when things are inflamed. So people say, oh, well, my joints hurt. Well, that's inflammation. People say, I've got high blood pressure. Well, that's inflammation. I've got problems with blood sugar. Well, that's inflammation. Doesn't matter what you name, inflammation is involved, because that's how our immune system responds when things are stressful or out of order. So that's what inflammation is, Andre. It's at the root of everything. And they call it the silent killer, the big disease that we don't have a name for, because it spreads across all aspects of our health.
Wow. So when you were talking just now, I was thinking, man, if we will pay attention to inflammation in our digestive system, we can solve a lot of problems. You know what I mean? Because digestive, it's like your second brain. You're like, man, I have a gut feeling, because it's your second brain. And then the inflammation is connected to every disease. And so I don't know why a lot of nutrition, a lot of doctors don't start there, don't start with the digestive and inflammation. Now, speaking of inflammation, and I don't know if it has anything to go with it, but I want to jump into men's health. Some folks, have trouble with inflaming certain areas of their body. And hopefully I wrapped it around right, Dr. Givens. And so a lot of folks have a problem with that. And that causes a lot of relationship problems, a lot of stress on men. And so if you could just share the problem with, men's health and erectile dysfunction, that would be greatly appreciated.
Sure. So it's a very simple kind of explanation, and that is it's a restriction of blood flow. Okay, so volume of blood flow and blood pressure affect the ability for men to become erect and to be able to perform. That's the same with any organ that needs to become engorged or filled with blood. If the blood can't flow and maintain that flow and pressure, then you're going to have difficulty. And so we talked a little bit last time about blood pressure, but we'll take just a second on this because it's tied to men's health. If you were to look at a vein or an artery from a side view, you're looking at it like a garden hose, and you're looking through there, the blood flows through these pipes, right, through these veins and arteries. And as long as the veins and arteries are elastic, they can expand and contract, as long as there are no buildups of things on the inside, calcium buildups, cholesterol buildups, and so forth on the inside of these veins and arteries. And the inside, the lining on the inside of these veins and arteries is smooth. There's very little restriction, and blood flows easily and freely. Now, what happens as we go along, we start to build up, clots and build up on the inside of that garden hose. Imagine all of a sudden on that garden hose, there's deposits, stickiness sticking to the inside. Well, as you do that, that's creating restriction, right? So the blood is not able to pass through as freely. Now also imagine that garden hose becomes more rigid, right? So it's no longer flexible. It can't expand and contract. It's rigid in its shape and form. That also creates difficulty for blood flow, especially as blood is pumping and then restricting, right? It's going through. So that you need these veins and arteries to have that ability to be elastic. If they become more rigid and hardened, then what happens is when the blood flows, it creates increased pressure. Because the veins and arteries can't expand and contract, and it becomes harder on the heart. The pump has to work harder. A lot of the movement of blood throughout the body, the work is done actually by the veins and arteries. The particular tissue that they are sensing that the pump is going to pump blood, and so they expand. and they allow the blood through, and then behind it they contract, and that pushes the blood through even easier. And so it pulls the workload off of the heart. It actually does a lot of the pumping and the movement of blood just because of that amazing tissue, the elasticity of it. And so when you lose that elasticity, when you build up on the inside of those pipelines, then what happens is pressure goes up and blood flow goes down, right? Just like if you were to kink a garden hose, pressure increases inside the hose, but it doesn't flow. And as you get into some of the smaller blood vessels that are feeding tissues in the body, for example, men's body parts, and you're wanting the blood flow there, and you're wanting it to be able to hold that blood so that it can stay in that form. It doesn't happen if the blood isn't moving freely, and so these two are very, very closely related. That's why oftentimes someone who is diagnosed with erectile dysfunction is also diagnosed with high blood pressure. They go hand in hand, and they also tend to find a way to be tied to blood sugar issues as well, because these are causing inflammation. We started with inflammation, but imagine that garden hose again, and imagine the tissues of those veins and arteries now swelling, okay, becoming inflamed. Well, they not only swell and become bigger, but as they swell internally as well, and it compresses the space. It removes the space for the blood to flow. So inflammation, blood sugar issues, high blood pressure, erectile dysfunction, men's health, these things are all very, very closely related.
Wow, man, I'm not gonna leave the ladies outside. When you were talking, I said, I got something for the ladies, man. These hot flashes. I mean, covers on, covers off, covers on, covers off. I mean, I know some family members that are struggling with this. And please, if you could just share, we'll jump right into joint health after that, and we'll show some upcoming things that are coming on the forefront of a top shelf, and then we'll let these good folks go. And so if you could just share why women and so many folks are struggling with hot flash late at night and things of that nature.
So when it comes to a lot of the postmenopausal symptoms, even premenopausal symptoms, these things are related most often to hormonal issues. And those affect men's health as well, right? Because men and women are affected by hormone levels. And hormones are primarily made up of cholesterol and fat. So the body has to have that raw ingredient in order to make sex hormones. And if we don't have enough cholesterol, enough fat, healthy fats in our diet, then the body struggles to make adequate amounts of hormones. So one of the number one solutions for being able to help both men and women with any of these hormonal difficulties is to increase their consumption of healthy fats. A perfect example of that is the yolk of the egg. Many people want to eat egg whites, right? They want to just have, don't give me the yolk, it's high in cholesterol. Well, that cholesterol is not affecting the cholesterol in your blood. It's affecting the cholesterol that is an essential nutrient for health that the body uses to make up hormones, the body uses to make up brain tissue. All of these things are made of healthy cholesterol and fats. And so if you want to help both men and women with sexual health, one of the things to do is to have two eggs a day minimum, maybe even take that to 3 or 4 with runny yolks. And increase that healthy fat, that healthy cholesterol consumption so that the body can help create and balance those hormones.
Wow. I can almost see, and Gigi and Dr. Gibbons off the chain in the chat. I can almost see just not like a diet or a cookbook or whatever, just, based on different deficiencies and different situations that people have, man. This is awesome. And that eggs, so many times, people say, oh, don't eat a lot of eggs. Don't eat a lot of eggs. Your cholesterol is going to be high. Can you speak to that really quickly?
Well, yeah, the cholesterol in our blood, which is what they're telling us is a problem, right? Because it's a sticky substance that coats the inner lining of that vein and artery that we're talking about, and they're saying, oh no, that cholesterol is sticky, it's sticking to the inside layer, and therefore it's causing restriction of blood flow and leads to heart attacks and blood clots and those types of things. Well, what they're saying is true. The problem is that cholesterol is not cholesterol is not cholesterol, meaning the cholesterol you eat is not the cholesterol in your blood. They've studied this. They did a 20-year study with 90,000 nurses across the country, and they had half of them using a low cholesterol diet, no butter, no egg yolks, low fat diet. And they had the other half consuming a high fat diet, high cholesterol diet, using all the butter and all the eggs and red meat that they wanted. And they actually found that the occurrence of high blood cholesterol was lower with those who were consuming a high cholesterol, high fat diet than those that weren't. So it's a complete myth, and it has been debunked many, many years ago, but it just persists with the community. But it's been completely debunked that the cholesterol you consume orally is the same as the cholesterol that's in your blood. They have nothing to do with each other other than they have some similar chemical makeups. The cholesterol you eat will get broken down and utilized as an essential nutrient in the body. The cholesterol in your blood is a result of your body's creation. Over 98% of the cholesterol in blood is created by the body. It has nothing to do with what you consumed. And the question is, well, why do some bodies create high levels of cholesterol and carry it in the blood? And usually it is a result of not having enough healthy fats. If you're deficient in omega-3, 6, and 9s, primarily 3s, then what happens is the body has inside this garden hose, again, right, the veins and arteries, inside that layer, there are little fissures, little cuts that occur. And it's just because of molecules going through there all day. And the body is supposed to rebuild and repair that. And it uses essential fats to keep that inner lining soft and smooth and able to extract and contract, expand and contract. And when we don't have enough essential fats, then what happens is it can't repair those little cuts and fissures and scrapes on the inside. It doesn't have the tools to do it. And so what does the body do? It goes to its next best thing. It produces a sticky patch substance called cholesterol, and it actually puts it in the blood so that whenever those fissures or cracks occur, it will stick to it and adhere to it and keep the fissure from expanding to where you're not bleeding internally. And that's a life-saving action that our body does when we are deficient in essential fats. The body will increase cholesterol levels in the blood to repair those inner walls. But it's not a perfect repair. It's meant to be a temporary until you get some essential fats, and it can go fix that problem. But if we go for an extended period of time where we are deficient in those good healthy fats, and the body has to patch it up with cholesterol hardens and other things stick to the other side to it, and we do build up a restriction and likelihood of heart attack and clotting that occurs inside the blood as a result of high cholesterol. But the cholesterol that's there is not the cholesterol you ate from the eggs. It was actually cholesterol your body created to try and keep you alive.
Woo, woo, Ty. Boy, you on your game. One more, and then hopefully you give some sneak peeks. I'm just prompting you. So folks know things are moving. So joint health, man, people struggle. And even as I get older, Ty, I'll say, oh, wait a minute. But I feel great that we have tools, as I'll call it, to help me out and assist with joint health. And so many folks that are younger now and older are dealing with joint health. And I want you to speak to joint health, and that'd be greatly appreciated. And that'll be our last topic.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorites because it's such a simple one. It's happening everywhere. And like you said, Andre, you can't talk to a person who doesn't say, oh, my joints, right? And there's big money in repairing, replacing, and surgeries on joints. And yet the truth of the matter is that we've known how to repair joints for decades, if not centuries. It's all in the nutrients that we take in every day. So if you, and I know you're involved in horse racing, so you know this, Andre, that if you're going to train a horse and you want them to be running a track and you want them to run and run and run and pound those joints, you're not going to put millions of dollars into a horse and not make sure that you're not feeding that horse bone meal with the oats. There's no way you're going to expect that horse to have healthy joints unless you're giving it the nutrients for that body to repair and rebuild itself. But see, this has been big money for the medical industry. They just want to tell you that you wore your joints out. It's just a natural thing that happens. You wore them out. Well, why is it happening to our kids now, right? I mean, it's happening younger and younger and younger, and it's because of our diet. For centuries, people have taken the bones of animals and boiled them to make broth. For centuries, we've used every part of the animal. We've used the skin, the joint tissue, the bones, and we've boiled it to make a soup broth. And that's been high percentage of the diet. And there's a reason why the occurrence of arthritis, like it is in America, is not happening in some of the third world countries, because they still, to this day, use every part of the animal. You go into some of these places where they are killing an animal and eating it as a family. Every part of that animal is being consumed. Well, this is why they don't have the same occurrence of joint disease as we do. Our bodies need collagen, chondroitin, glucosamine. The bodies need ground up joint tissue. They need this tissue in order to lay down what's called bone matrix. Some of you might remember in school doing a little science project where you took a chicken bone and you put it in a jar of vinegar and you let it sit there. So that bone was hard as a rock, right, when you had it, but you put it in the vinegar and you let it sit there, and that vinegar leaches the minerals out of that bone. And after a few days or weeks, you take it out and it's flexible like rubber. Well, what is that? All the minerals have been taken out, and what you're left with is called bone matrix. It's gelatin. It's the ground up tissues that makes up bones. And it's like a matrix of these nutrients that then the minerals can go and be laid inside of. All of our bones, all of our connective tissues, our ligaments, our tendons, our cartilage are all made up of this bone matrix material. Many times we say, oh, healthy bones, lots of calcium. Well, what we don't realize is that our bones are actually made up of like 90 essential nutrients. There's a whole soup of minerals. There's all of this connective tissue and bone matrix material. And so if you want to maintain healthy bones, healthy joints, healthy ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, cartilage, you've got to consume all of those. And so you're going to need to eat the ends off of your chicken bones. You're going to need to eat the bone matrix material that comes from boiling bones and bone tissue and connective tissue on the end. So this is a common practice for those who have racehorses. It's a common practice in the agricultural world, and for those who know, it's a common practice in human health as well, is to make sure that you're getting adequate amounts of these bone matrix materials in addition to a whole soup of minerals to keep them healthy.
Wow, wow, wow. There you have it. Todd Smith. And I tell you guys, if you're watching a replay, make sure you always click the like button, man, just so more people can view and to be visible. Folks need this information. I mean, this was next level. Now, you said we got about 5 minutes left and we want to get out the class early, but did you have any updates on Top Shelf Nutria, where we are with products and shipping and all that good stuff?
Absolutely. So we mentioned before that all the products were in manufacturing, and we're waiting on labels and waiting on things to get manufactured. But we got 5 items that hit the warehouse this week.
Wow.
So I'll just hold a couple of them up here. I've got one of each here, but some of you are very familiar with our organic Fijian turmeric. Okay, so this is extremely, extremely essential for reducing inflammation, which we've been talking about today, right? So turmeric. How about bone and joint?
Ooh.
That's something we've been talking about as well, right? This has arrived in the warehouse today. Muscadine, seeds and skins, purest form. Now, when we talk about blood flow, this is actually scientifically proven to increase the blood flow. The widens and expands the space for the blood to flow. Cardiac health, men's health, women's health. Muscadine, seeds and skins. ATP Balance. This is the product to help balance blood sugar and give energy, especially for those who are trying to reduce calories, lose weight, and have that energy and mental through the process. Gives you support to balance the blood sugar. And then Lax. This is a product to help the body eliminate and detoxify on a daily basis. All of those are capsules that are just easily to take and have all the things that we've been talking about in them, Andre.
Oh, there we go. We're moving. So, guys, if you are not already in the Top Shelf system, make sure you get with the person who invited you right here, right now. We officially launched in June 3rd. And so we're excited about it. And next Saturday, we'll have another informational session. Probably will be an hour later, just so we can help out our West Coast family. But I'm so fired up, guys. Once the replay comes out, make sure you share it to at least 10 to 20 people right away, because people can benefit from the information that you've heard this morning. So, Mr. Smith, thank you so much for not calling it robbery, to be with you, be with us, and all of the folks who dialed in on your early Saturday morning. We appreciate you for taking your health and putting it top priority. So, any closing remarks, Todd, or are we good?
I think we're good. Excited for more of these to arrive, and we'll just keep updating you as they get here. So we're ready on June 3rd.
Awesome. Have a good Saturday, guys. Thank you. Let Mr. Smith know how much you appreciate him. Thank you, guys.
Phenomenal information, Mr. Smith.
So
Thank
much
you.
time.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the information and the
Appreciate it.
invitation.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great day.
For great information. Thank you.